Hey, we've enjoyed our days with you this week. Had a really nice time and culminating in this beautiful Watchtower study. Your folks make your comments just, they show a level of spiritual maturity across the board. That was Tuesday night. You almost forget to comment during the gyms because you get so caught up in listening to you folks. And in the day, wow, what beautiful comments on this Watchtower. Succinct, to the point, meaningful. And then Bobby's smart enough to just stay out of the way, right? He asked the question, he lets you do all the hard work. If I move to this congregation, I'm gonna try to take his job because it'd be easy to conduct here. No, seriously, you folks make the application. You notice he never has to hardly ask extra questions. He doesn't have to say a lot. You do it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way we're supposed to be conducting these meetings. And the way you're commenting is what the governing body wants. So you keep it up. Nice conclusion to the week. Now we're going to spend the next few minutes in our final talk looking at a principle. Now it is one of the most simple, easy to understand principles in the entire Bible. And yet there's no doubt about this. It is also one of the most disregarded principles in the Bible. Sometimes we disregard it with our own self, but more we disregard it sometimes when we're trying to help other people. Hey, what is it? And why is it so important? Let's open our Bibles to Galatians, the 6th chapter. Now, all of our verses will come from this part of the Bible. Galatians chapter 6. We're going to start reading in verse number 1. Galatians 6, 1. Brothers, verse 5. We'll do verse 1 in a minute. Verse 5. For each one will carry his own load. Now there's the principle. In other words, that's how Jehovah created us. He said each person, that'd be all of us, every person will carry his own load. Now there's an asterisk, a footnote by load, and if you look down it says, or load of responsibility. In other words, that's what's expected of you and me that we would carry. Like if any of these people with children came to you and said, hey, could you pick up another job on the side and take care of my children? What would you tell them? Man, you had them, that's your children. He would never ask you that because we know if that's our family, we're supposed to take care of. So there's just certain things in life that's our responsibility. And of course, that would include spiritually. It's interesting, the term was a military term used to describe a soldier's pack, like what you would carry into war. So you can imagine as you're marching, if one soldier said to the other, hey, would you carry my pack? You'd say, hey, you got to carry your own. And so Jehovah's saying that about us, including spiritually, there's just certain things that we have to carry. So we got to remember this from two different angles. Number one, you and me, we always have to realize there's just certain things other people can't do for me. I've got to pick it up. I got to carry my load. When we help other people, we got to remember the same thing. Like sometimes we're helping people return to the congregation. We're helping people get strong again. Here's what the Watchtower said in 2008. We can encourage a person by kindly showing that Jehovah loves his sheep and requires only things that we can do. These include studying the scriptures, attending Christian meetings, and preaching the good news of the kingdom. So we have to help people see these are things you can do. Like sometimes we're trying to help people, for example, and we forget to ask them, are you reading your Bible every day? And then they say, well, not really. Why not? I'm just busy. Come on, man. We can't take 10 minutes. If somebody's that busy, they better take a look. Well, I'll read a verse or two. Hey, you're a grown man. Come on. We can read the Bible every day, right? Have you ever tried this? The Bible on JW Library, it'll read to you. It'll read to you. And each verse is reading turns dark. We could be dyslexic and we could do that. You understand what I'm trying to say? Sometimes we try to help people and we forget. I read the Bible, you can too. We got to help people see that these are things that we can do. We can't carry other people's load. So when do we do this? Well, elders do it. Telling you, tire themselves out. Sometimes we're trying to help people that are a little weaker. We end up doing it. Bible study conductors do it. Here's somebody else that does it. People with adult children, not 8-year-olds. Read and pray with them every night. You're supposed to do that. That's your job. But when they're 28, they have to do it for themselves. And some of us, we have to see that this principle is real. I can carry my load, so can you. Now, why do we struggle with this? Well, look back at verse number 1. Brothers, even if a man takes a false step before he is aware of it, you who have spiritual qualifications, try to readjust such a man in a spirit of mildness. But keep an eye on yourself, for fear you too may be tempted. Verse 2, go on carrying the burdens of one another, and in this way you will fulfill the law of the Christ. Now you notice in verse 2 it says, carry the burdens of one another. See, one reason people get confused, if you look at all the other translations, do you know what it says in verse 5? Each person will carry his own burden. And then in verse 2, it says, no, you have to carry their burden. If you don't, you're not even a Christian. You're not even fulfilling the law of the Christ. See, that's confusing. The New World Translation uses a different term because for burden, if you look at the King Interlinear, it meant heavy things. So in other words, sometimes in life, things happen to a person and all of a sudden, it's just, there's a burden. And we don't say, well, carry your own load. For one, like verse number 1, if a person takes a false step, what if somebody calls the elders and said, I don't know how this happened, man, but I just made a terrible mistake. I need to talk to you, brothers. What are they going to tell you? Pick up your own load. Now they're going to say, let's get together quick. Why? Because they're going to try to help you where you can get back to carrying your load. But they can't carry it for us. So we have to make sure we understand this, that yes, when people need us, we step in there, we show love, we don't judge them, and we try to help them, but we help them with the right aim, and that is to get them to where they can pick up their pack. So there was a brother in upstate New York, and he would take people up in the mountains in Adirondacks. And he said sometimes, especially older people, they'd take a break, and when they got up, they just were stiff, you know? And he said what they would do is they would go get the pack and hold it up, let the person get it through on their back, but then they had to carry it. In other words, it'd help you get it on, but you either had to carry it or you can't go with us. And it's the same way spiritually. We can give people a little boost, but we're getting them where they can pick up their own load and carry it. Now you notice in verse number 1, said, try to readjust such a man. Now, other translations don't put try in there. They just say readjust them, straighten them out. So these translations will lead you to believe that if somebody messes up, you have the responsibility to straighten them out. That's not the meaning of the word. It means that you should try to help them. In fact, the study note said this. It allows for try to readjust, implying those who have spiritual qualifications make an effort to bring the erring one back to the right path. However, the actual readjustment depends on whether the one being counseled responds in a positive way. So we can't make anybody do anything. We can show them, get them to see what the Bible says, but we got to give them the right. It's their God-given right to either say, okay, I'll do it, or no, I'm going to do it my way. If they want to do it their way, we have to let them. That's part of them carrying their own load. Now, the study note shows that sometimes was used in medical context, like setting a bone. Anybody ever have a bone set? It's ugly. And what if you did, though, like you broke your arm today and you went to your arm was like this, and you went in, and the doctor would give you a shot is what he would do. And then they'd say, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set your arm and set it back right. And then what if you said, I don't want it set? The doctor would tell you, he'd say, look, sir, ma'am, if you don't let me set it, it's going to heal that way. You won't be able to use it. I don't care. I'm good with it. Listen, can I tell you one more thing? If it heals that way, you may never be able to fix it. And if we do, it's going to be way more expensive and painful. I'm good with it. Now, what's the doctor going to do? Shoot you with a tranquilizer dart? If you were a dog or a wild animal, he'd do it because you don't have enough sense to make that decision. You're an adult. You know what he'd tell you? Well, here's some pills. Go home and maybe, enjoy your arm. And a smart doctor's not going to lay awake all night going, oh, that poor fella today. I wish I could have got to him. He told you what was going to happen. You don't want it said. See, that's the way adults are. We only have the right to help them to see what Jehovah says. Then we have to let them make the decision. We can't push them and try to make them do the right thing. Now, here's a couple things to think about as we try to help people. Elders, Bible study conductors, people with grown children, please remember this. Just use the Bible. Help people to see Bible principles. That's what we need to use to help people if we feel we need to help them. Use God's word. Now, here's another caution. Keep your opinion to yourself. Keep our opinions to ourselves. What we end up doing is telling people what we think they should do. Well, hey, look, if you got a lot of opinions, you can write you a book and publish it if you want to. But we don't need them in the congregation. And that includes us that have adult children. Now, when they're 8, that's your right. Your opinion is you go to bed at 9 o'clock. Well, you got a right to do that. They're 8. But when they're 28, you need to leave them alone. We don't go around giving adults our opinions. We let them live their life. We let them make decisions based on Bible principles. When we don't, we're disrespecting Jehovah. See, what we're telling Jehovah is, I know what you said, God, but I got a better way. Respect Jehovah. Keep our opinions to ourselves. I remember I had torn my meniscus in my knee, and the doctor in New Jersey, before we went to Harrisburg, said, listen, I can do a little surgery, and it won't be a big deal, or you can just exercise it, rehab it, and see how it goes. This is 12 plus years ago. So I decided to go with the rehab thing. So I started, and when I moved to Harrisburg, one day I was walking in the parking lot, because that's what part of the therapy. And I had a little limp. And so Larry, he was an electrician. He was an elder, he pulls up in the van. And Larry says, man, what are you limping for? I said, well, I tore my meniscus, and the doctor said I could have surgery, he said, just go ahead and have the surgery. I had it, worked out perfect. No big deal. Just have the surgery. I looked at him and I thought, man, I thought you were an electrician. Are you like a orthopedic surgeon on the side, right? Got a part-time job? Man, who you gonna tell me what to do with my knee? What if I did have the surgery and got infected and had to cut my leg off? You think Larry's gonna take care of me? Man, don't be telling nobody to have no surgery. See what we do? Now, that wasn't a big deal. But sometimes in life, we go around telling people, here's what you need to do. No, I wouldn't do that. No, here's what you need to do. No, you don't need to do that. Keep our opinions to ourselves. Now, whether you're a Bible study conductor, or you have adult children, or we're an elder, we have the right sometimes to say, here's one thing you might want to think about. And then let it go. Let them carry their own load. And another thing we need to remember, don't try to make somebody do it. Sometimes the elders do this. Sometimes we do it with family members. We tire ourselves out just over and over. We're going to make somebody do it the right way. Like, this is constant. I run into this. People are fighting in the congregation like a husband and wife. They just can't get along. The elders have spent hours with them. And every time they meet with them, they tell them the same thing they told them last time, and they hadn't even started working on it. Then they come up to them at the meeting. We need to talk to you after the meeting. For what? We got to fighting today. It was worse than ever. And then the elders would say, man, we were back there 3 hours. You know what I'd say to them? You got to fighting. We met with you 3 or 4 weeks ago. We were talking about reading the text and stuff. Did y'all start doing that? No. Well, I tell you what, why don't y'all go home and read the text? And let me know how that works out Sunday. We're not meeting with you. We don't have nothing else to say to you. But see, no, we're going to meet with them because we're going to make them get together. We're going to make them do it the right way. Let them carry their own load. One time we made a shepherding call on a couple in Fort Collins, and they had been fighting for years. And you know what? This ain't funny. You know, we say stuff's funny, and it's not funny. That was almost 25 years ago. They still fight. So anyway, we're just going to make a general shepherding call on them. I wouldn't go in there. So we were trying to encourage them. All of a sudden, Yvonne says, John comes home. He goes to the club and to the work. He hangs out with his buddies. He comes home and then well, you nag me and you do this and hold on a minute. Hold. We didn't come to talk about all that. But since you brought it up, turn to Ephesians 5. So we go over there. I said, would you read that, Johnny? Yeah. What does that say? Treat her like Jesus treats a congregation. Is that how you treat her, you think, Johnny? I'm just curious. Well, I'll start treating her like that when she quits nagging me and quits. Okay. Yvonne, what does that other verse say? Deep respect for your husband. Hey, just curious. I'm not making a judgment. Is that how you treat Johnny? I'll start treating him like that when he starts acting like Jesus. Now, I'm telling you, there's a bunch of elders in our circuit right now that would have been over there 3 hours. And then they wonder why they don't want to be no elder no more. Guess what we did? We said, well, all right. Hope it was encouraging to you. And we went home. We went home. We're not Dr. Phil. We're not arbitrators. All we know to do is say, can you work on it? Can you work? And leave it with them. But what do? We're going to make them do it the right way. Friends, make sure people understand Jehovah's viewpoint. And then please, let them make the decision. They're adults. They have that right. Jehovah created them that way. Now, sometimes people hey, what does that say? Well, yeah, I know what Jehovah's saying. I know I shouldn't marry him, but I'm doing it anyway. Well, hey, we still love you. And then they go marry him. And then within a year, they fighting. And guess what that person did because we did it the right way? That person ain't going to say, I remember the brothers tried to tell me. You know what they're going to say? Man, I wish I would have listened to Jehovah. Man, I tell you one thing. Next time he tells me something, I'm going to listen. It's part of who they are. You see, they made a bad decision. We stayed out of it. We didn't push them. We kept loving them. And now it's between them and Jehovah. And they learn a valuable lesson. So please, let other people carry their own load. We can't make people apply principles. Now, this sounds, I'm telling you what a lot of people will say. Well, you don't understand. You know, that's cold. It's not cold, friends. It's the way God created us. It's a beautiful principle. It's liberating. In fact, look at 3 and 4, verses 3 and 4. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he is deceiving himself. But let each one examine his own actions, and then he will have cause for rejoicing in regard to himself alone, and not in comparison with the other person. Hey, you notice it said, let each one examine his own actions. Now, isn't that a beautiful way to live? Instead of worried about everybody else. People do this. Like the governing body, Brother Lett, many of you saw the update when he said, hey, we have no problem with people if they want to grow a beard. He said that includes, they named everything. Well, one elder body said, it wasn't our circuit. It's, we got other circuits right around us. They said, we need to meet on that. And a younger brother who believes in letting people carry their own load, he said, what do we need to meet about? What are we going to talk about? And so what some of them already done, they got together and they're going to legislate what that means. Like you can have a beard. This is already happening, but you can't have a goatee. You don't believe that's already happening? Because see, instead of examining their own action, they got to worry about what everybody else is doing. Hey, look, they're going to make a fool of themselves. They don't realize Brother Jackson already showed up at an SKE graduation with a goatee. And listen, on the broadcast, one of them's going to show up with a goatee and the whole congregation's go, those guys are idiots. But they're our elders, so we got to respect them. You see what's happening? All because people don't get it. Worry about yourself. Let me worry about myself. I'm worrying about what somebody wears. Was that too short? Should they have gotten that piercing? Should they? And just let people live their life. And then we examine our own actions. Now that's liberating. One time we were with the district overseer's wife. Kim has 2 earrings. And you know, in some of our congregations around here, you get pretty much almost disfellowship for that. But one's okay. So anyway, the sister said, I just don't know why anybody would get 2 earrings, 2 holes in their ear. I wanted so bad to say this. Look, I love my wife, respect her. I don't mean any harm to her, and certainly don't mean any to you. But my question is, why do you stick 1 hole in your body? But it ain't my ear. Now, Kim didn't say, I'm getting 2, so you got to get a hole in yours too. That's her ear. Why am I worried about that? But don't we, friends? We spend too much time examining other people. Examine our own actions. Now, if we examine them close enough, what it does is what's described in verse number 3. We know we're nothing. We don't start thinking we're something. If you examine yourself close enough, friends, every one of us realize, man, I need to worry about me. I got stuff to work on. I ain't got time to be worried about what you wear, about what you drive. It's liberating. Now, here's another benefit to just examining our own actions. We grow as a person. Some people live for 30, 40, 50 years worried about everybody else, and they didn't work on things they need to work on. And it catches up to us. It's our own personal responsibility. Like some people, they bully people. They're not friendly. You know, they're cranky. And so they should be trying to change that instead of worry about everybody else. But they don't. And then they get old. And now they need people. And then, you know, like right now, Brother Dick is kind of having some struggles. His wife did before with his hip. You think they have a problem with people calling them? They almost had to take the phone off the hook. Why? Because everybody loves them. Because the kind of people they become over the years. See, some people don't do that. And then they're wondering, I don't know why nobody comes to see me. Because don't nobody want to. You understand what I'm saying? I'd rather go see Ruthie laying in that bed. And she didn't just learn to be that way last week. See, she examined herself. They became those kind of people. So, and here's what we do, show them we'll say, well, you just got to understand he's old. Man, that burns me up. I'm serious. And I'll ask people, did you know him when he was like 40? Yeah. How was he then, Frankie? He didn't get that way because he was old. Now he's older, so it's just expounded. It's just bigger. He didn't examine his own actions, and he didn't become the kind of person he needed to be. So good lesson for us, friends. Carry your own load. Quit worrying about everybody else. Let's examine ourselves and keep working at being more like Jesus, more the kind of person we're supposed to be, carrying our own load. One more benefit, it says for rejoicing. We'll have cause for rejoicing. See, we don't have to worry about what everybody else is doing. I'm older now, I can't do as much. So you're doing what you can. I'm moving slower. Well, you still moving? The heavier your load is, the less you're going to be able to do. But you're still carrying it. Don't worry about what other people can do. Rejoice that you are carrying your own load to the best of your ability. See, Jehovah says in verse 5, for let each one will carry his own load. Each one will carry his own load. Jehovah believes we can do that. He knows we can. Now, I know some of our loads are heavier than others. And we want to say up front that sometimes your load, there's nothing you can do about it. We understand that. And your load's heavy, and it's going to be heavy until Jesus lightens into the new world. We understand that. But sometimes we could ask ourselves 2 questions. If my load is heavy, we could ask, could I lighten it? We can lighten it two ways sometimes. Sometimes we can simplify. We can simplify our life, lighten our load. Here's another way that sometimes we can lighten it. We can take a look and ask the things I'm doing for this person, mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever, is it really my responsibility? Now, it may be. And if it is, you need to keep caring. But sometimes when we're honest, we go, wait a minute, that is not really my responsibility. I'll give you an example. My father-in-law, back when they were both alive, they had this big house. 3 of the rooms they didn't even use. It was just closed off. But you still got to clean them. The yard was big. It would cost about $200 to get it cut back then. Now, he could have paid somebody, but he was too cheap. But he still wanted his yard. But it took 3 or 4 hours, and he was just running out. He just couldn't hardly get it done. So anyway, when you can't do your yard anymore, or you can't take care of your house anymore, what do? You get a smaller one. That's not hard. Yeah, but I don't want to move. I like this house. Well, I'm sure you do. But we don't always get everything we want in life. Isn't that true? So anyway, I'm over at my father-in-law's, and he says, son, he was always a bully kind of person. So this struck me at my heart. He got real pitiful. He says, son, there's a big difference in being able to live by yourself and take care of yourself. And it just hit me. See, he's always tough. And I almost said, well, what do you want us to do? Oh, wait a minute. Say a quick prayer and think this thing through. So I said, so it's kind of hard keeping up this big yard and everything, and you don't want to pay nobody. Yeah. It's kind of hard keeping up this big house, and you don't even use some of the rooms. Yeah. The boy got sobered up quick. You understand what I'm saying? All that crime. You know why he got sobered up? Because I put it right back where it's supposed to be. I put it right back where it's supposed to be. Man, if you can't take care of this house anymore, can't take care of his yard anymore, we need to look at some other options. See, what he wanted, us to leave the circuit work. We go down there and live. I'm taking care of the house. He's out there bossing me around. Free. And he wants to boss. I know that's what would have happened. Next thing you know, Kim's left me. I'm in the mental hospital. And I'd have been telling the brothers, it was just so hard. I was just trying to carry my load. No, I wasn't trying to carry I was carrying his load. Now, if he would have called us, and I'm glad he didn't, because it wouldn't have been no fun. But if he would have called us and said, son, I've thought this through. We can't take care of this place anymore. So here's what I'd like to do. I'm gonna go out to Ridgeland. We got these little places. We don't have a yard to take care of. It's smaller. We can downsize. We can live there and we can take care of ourselves. You know what we would have done? I wouldn't even have had to say, Kim, are you okay with this? I would have committed right there. We'll be down there as soon as we can. We'll take a month. We'll do whatever we have to do. We'll come down there, get all your stuff gone, move you into your new place so you can carry your own load. See what people do to us? We got people all over my circuit. They'll come to me complaining, it's just so hard taking care of mama. She wants to stay in that house. And I go over there and she's mean to me. I'm like, and I changed the subject. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. If you want to do it for her because she wants to stay in that house and she don't want to do what's practical, then that's between you and Jehovah. Go do it. But I don't want to hear about it. If you can't do it anymore, you need to make a change. Here's what the Watchtower said in 92. Sometimes we assume full responsibilities for duties that should be shared by others. We may have to eliminate entirely some of them if they're not essential. It may cause inconvenience or disappoint others, but notice this, we have to respect our own physical and emotional limitations. Kim and I know people personally. Their marriages have broken up because one of them would not put the load on who it should have been put on. and they're spending so much time trying to carry parents or grandchildren's loads that their marriage breaks up. So ask yourself a question, honestly. Is this really my responsibility? Is this my God-given responsibility? If not, then you got to ask yourself, well, I want to do it anyway. Well, physically and emotionally, can you? Well, go do it. If we can't, we don't need to be complaining to nobody. We need to make an adjustment. So some loads are heavy and there's nothing we can do about it. But let's at least look at our load. Could I simplify? Could I lighten my load? And am I taking on somebody else's load? And it's weighing me down. Now, whether we can or not, we can carry our load. We had a brother, Mike Cooper, when we moved to Fort Collins. The elders that kind of stumbled in his previous congregation, they kind of handled some things kind of wrong. He ended up not being a ministerial servant. That happens. And he would sit back in the back room behind the glass with his family, and he looked dead. He just looked dead. And I would try to give him some encouragement, but you just couldn't get anything out of him. Well, all of a sudden one day, he started looking different, and he started making progress. Now he's an elder, and it was just beautiful to see and to be a part of it. Anyway, here's what he said was the key. One day he was coming to the hall with his family, and he pulled over on the side of the road, and he told Jehovah in prayer, Jehovah, this is not the elder's fault. This is not my family's fault. This is me. Help me pick up my load. From that day forward, Mike started progressing because he realized nobody else can carry for me. I got to carry my own. So we want to pick our load up and carry it and let others do the same. Help people to see you can do this. You can carry your load. As we do, we will experience rejoicing. We will rejoice as we carry our load and help other people to do the same.